So it lists both the UEI and the cage code for the Kizzy Foundation. So that's our UEI. As you can see, the entity was officially submitted and it went from ID assigned. You see this. That means I added a company to submitted registration. This is exactly what you want. This page right here. It's letting you know that you've submitted everything that they have asked for. This is the most important step in this entire process. So I'm going to take you through all the steps necessary to get your UEI. Let's begin. So once you reach Sam.Gov, you will see this screen right here. You're going to need to sign in. If you are a returning user, simply enter in your email and password. If you are brand new, you're going to need to create an account. Simply click the button here, follow the prompt. It's going to ask you a few questions, and before you know it, you will have a username and password. It will also ask you to either use a security code, a text message, some type of third-party verification, because this platform holds your bank account information. So you don't want just anyone to have access to your Sam.Gov registration. Okay, so I'm gonna log in. You see, I'm logged in. While I already have 4 companies registered in Sam.Gov, we are going to start from scratch because I have a nonprofit that I would like to register. When I was in undergrad, I was able to attend a very expensive private school due to a foundation, and I had the opportunity to meet the woman who was behind the foundation, and I'll never ever forget the look in her eyes and just how she was so grateful to meet us. And I just could tell she was so not only grateful, but felt so accomplished, and to be able to see the benefits of, I guess, her hard work. I don't know much about her, but she had enough money to help yours truly get through a very expensive private school. And I said to myself, I want to be able to do the same thing for others. I want to be able to offer scholarships. I want to offer so many other things to people out there because she was able to do that for me. So I created a foundation. So we're going to register it, because guess what? You can register for-profit as well as non-profit companies in SAM. Create new entity directly with the US government. Bid on federal opportunities. If you're looking to apply for loans, by all means. It's best if you just click bid on a federal opportunity, because you're letting them know. I don't know why they added all of these options. I have no idea. If you want to prime a government contract, meaning the contract is in your name, the money goes to your bank account, you are the prime contractor, follow these prompts. Select federal government. There's no reason to add in all this other information. There isn't whatsoever. Maybe they're collecting it for some purpose. There's no reason to put all of this in there. If you really want to, by all means do so. But at the end of the day, you just need a UEI, a unique entity identifier, and a cage code. That's it. Next. Okay. So you see that they even prompted you. Choose all awards. That's what you want. All awards. The other thing, you will have to update this every single year. So keep that in mind. You're going to have to go through a very similar process. So make sure you have the basics: a physical address, tax ID form issued by the IRS, as well as something that shows your physical address if it's not stated on your tax ID. You must have these things. If you do not have a physical address, then stop. Do not proceed. I mean, it'd be great if you watch this video till the end for the algorithm, but you don't want to go through a bunch of issues of being rejected and you try to update it, and 7 months later, you're in the same situation. I don't want that. Y'all are GovCon winners. So make sure you have the form issued by the IRS, a physical address, and if for some reason the address on the form issued by the IRS with your tax ID differs, make sure you have something that lists your business name and your physical address. It could be a lease, it could be a bank statement, it could be a light bill. You just need something. Are you registering a government entity? For pretty much every single one of you watching this, y'all, nah, we ain't no government entity. No, you're not a government entity. But if you are, then select yes, because government entities can also bid on work with the federal government. That's why they ask these questions. I know sometimes it can be a pain, it can be very frustrating, it can be very aggravating, especially since they made all these changes since my last video. But stick with me, you will have your cage code before you know it. Yes, physically located. If you are outside of the United States, feel free to select this, because you can still register as a government contractor even if you are located outside of the United States. You just have to go through different steps. Do you already have a cage code? No. Most of you probably won't have one. If for some reason you already have one, then please make sure you write in the comments so we can address that. Otherwise, you're going through this process to get a UEI and to obtain a cage code. And they're just giving you information so that you are prepared. They just want to help you out. That's why you have all of these prompts, you have all of these guides. If you want to download them, by all means. This is where you take a look at the form issued by the IRS. You must enter the information for your company exactly as it appears on this form. So that's why I have it in my hand. Kizzy Foundation, Inc. There's no DBA right now. United States. And then I'm going to enter in my address. And then you click next. On this screen, they are prompting you to let you know that they are about to validate your entity, meaning they're going to run the information that you provided through a huge database to make sure it shows up. Here's a Kizzy strategy. If you just registered your business within the last 30 days, chances are it may not show up. If your business is in, let's say, a physical location, but there are multiple offices there with similar address, just be aware, it may not show up. It's okay, I'm gonna get you through it regardless. You click yes, you can provide the required information. So now they're searching millions of records and they're gonna ask you, do any of these match? There we go. This is it. If it didn't match, you just select, I don't recognize my entity on this list, and it'll walk you through the prompts. That's all you have to do. Because what will happen is they're going to ask you for information. That's why it's important to have your documents. You're gonna have to upload them, and someone behind the scenes, kind of like in the Wizard of Oz, they're going to need to add your entity to the database, which adds a little time. So just be patient, everyone. That's all, just be patient. So I recognize it, scroll down here, bam. And you can see Foundation, Research Institute, nonprofit. Because it's a foundation, it's a nonprofit. This is spot on. Are all of your entity details correct? No, it is missing the office unit. And under no, it says suite number is missing, Inc. is missing, address is old, doing business as is missing. If any of that applies, just simply click no. Then they're asking you, which one do you need to update? Physical address. So I typed it in one more time. It's stating this is what you entered. They're asking you to confirm it. Now, they need proof, right? We live in a culture of needing receipts. Gotta have those receipts. This is where you enter your receipts. So I have my form from the IRS, which actually lists both the address and the foundation name, which is awesome because when I established my flagship company, it was back in 2008 and I used my apartment. So anytime I update my flagship company, I always have to submit 2 documents, the lease and the form issued by the IRS. The form that I'm uploading was mailed to me by my attorney. I just simply took a photo of it, converted it to a PDF. There are a ton of scanning apps that you can use that will convert an image automatically to a PDF. Whichever method that you use, it doesn't matter. What's important is that you can read the document and you have electronic copy of the document. So now it's time to submit it. If you want to provide details, by all means, I'm going to move on. There we go. First part is done. Can you believe it? I feel like confetti should be falling down. And it says your entity documentation was submitted. This is the reference number that I received. Sam will review, contact you if you have any questions. So you just sit back, set it, and forget it. This is when you just relax. That's all you got to do. If you want to go back to your workspace, you're more than welcome to do that. And what you can do is then see your status. It says pending ID assignment. In comparison to my flagship company, you see I have a UEI, and you see that I already have a cage code. So once you finish the second step, your workspace will look exactly like this. In order to access over $500 billion in federal government contracts, you must have a cage code. I'm going to walk you through those steps. So let's go along so I can walk you through using my foundation. Before we get started, you want to make sure that you have your business banking information. If you do not have a business bank account, that is okay. Just have your checking information. You're going to want a copy of your EIN issued by the IRS. You want to make sure you have a physical address affiliated with the business that you are registering, whether it's a for-profit or it's a non-profit company. One more thing, please identify at least one NAICS code, because you can always go back to change these things. Get your cage code so you can start bidding, winning, and getting these profitable contracts. You will need to log in to your Sam.gov account. What you see before you is the behind the scenes between Melody, my amazing team member, and yours truly as we continue the registration process for the Kizzy Foundation. You see this. That means I added a once you click that company and they haven't completed the registration process. What you will need to do is continue the registration process in order to get your UEI, which is needed prior to getting your cage code.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And then it's saying you can continue entity validation now. Here's the funny part. And granted, I may have seen an email and didn't receive. Here's a Kizzy strategy. Typically, you will receive 0 emails that it's time for you to do this. It's really important that once you start this entire process to log in at least weekly. So you're gonna wanna go ahead and click Update Entity. It's best for when people are doing this, like they have to log in. In order for me to log in, they also will send you a text message.
Right.
Okay, you're gonna click update entity.
So then,
and once you click update entity, it will ask you to further verify your information. This is key in case there was a misspelling the first time, in case you received an approved doing business as. This is the time to make any and all types of updates.
for whatever reason, they're saying update. I do have a DBA, but I don't care.
If all the information is correct, just click next.
I don't know why they're asking me to do this, but I'm just gonna do it anyways because I can't hurt to do it more. Okay, hopefully the Wi-Fi, I don't know.
It's just loading, you guys. The next sections are informing you of what's to come. This is really important because you want to make sure at all times you have the document issued by the IRS indicating that you have a legal business. You also want any type of documentation showing that you have a physical address affiliated with your business, be it some type of lease, something of that nature. You always want to have these documents available.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but I have been...
So you click, I can provide official documentation, and then click next.
I might.
When you reach this screen, it's indicating that it is searching all of these records to make sure that the information you just verified matches with the information that's on file with the IRS.
More people have moved into this building, and bless their hearts.
Immediately, the foundation ended up at the top. If for some reason your organization does not show up, then you're going to need to select the option, I do not recognize my entity. The goal is for you to select the first one, I recognize my entity, so hopefully it should be there.
And like yesterday or the day before, the guy who owns this building, he was like, oh, sorry, there's no internet. And come on, I got backup. I got a hotspot, but I was just like, I ain't got time for all of your Michigan shenanigans. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it says, I recognize.
Okay.
And then that's this.
Yeah.
I intentionally put every address here. Why? Because that's what my mentor did.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens to be a nonprofit.
Here's another Kizzy strategy. You can have several businesses connected to the same physical address. For instance, I have several joint ventures and other companies all attached to my address in Melbourne, Florida, so long as you have a lease for each and every one of them. Or if it's your home, you have evidence that it is your home.
So I did a video on this one.
Next, they're asking you once again to verify all of your information.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Everything is right.
This question really stands out for those of you that are concerned about having your information available to the public. If you do not want your information available to the public, then do not click include. I, on the other hand, I'm really open, so I have all of our information available. And the main reason for it is so that potential companies who may want to partner or who want to just collaborate in other forms and fashions are able to find us easily.
This is also important too.
Okay.
And before they provide my UEI, they're asking that you certify everything that you've provided, that you are the one who's authorized. Because once again, they've had situations involving scammers. So you want to make sure you select that.
So in case anybody says, well, what, you can say, hey, this is literally what they say to do. So you can unclick it.
Yeah.
Right? I personally think that's nuts. I mean, I have been giving out, so now, are you ready?
So once you click receive unique entity ID, magically, like in a cooking show.
Yeah.
Guess what we're about to get?
Our cage?
We are. UEI.
Oh, UEI. Okay.
Okay. So that's our UEI.
So on this screen, you notice the UEI is displayed, but there's still more steps. We must continue the process to get our cage code. After receiving your UEI on your screen, you will also receive an email notification for it. Then there's an additional step that you're going to need to complete, but don't worry, I have outlined it all for you. And as you notice at the bottom of the screen, you can click and go back to your workspace, and you're going to notice you now have a UEI and that your business has moved to a different area in the entire process.
Verify, this is you, this is your address, it matches in their system. Okay, now you've passed step 1.
Yeah.
So we got the UEI. Then it says, this is what you can do. You can go to your workspace, and this is where you further validate. Now look, it wasn't there before.
Right. Yeah.
Now I have a UEI.
So now I'm showing what I just said. Go to your workspace. You can now see that the Kizzy Foundation is not only there again, but now the UEI appears.
We're going to log into Sam.gov. For security purposes, it will ask you for an additional verification method. Perfect. Now we are in. You're gonna wanna make sure you're in your workspace. It's here. You can click it in case you're that type of person. Sometimes I like to click it, hey, who doesn't? Means you have a UEI and you need to finish the steps to obtain a cage code. So right here is my UEI. You're gonna select the 3 here. Sometimes people call this the hamburger button. Who knows? We're gonna click register. You are interested in all awards because you need a cage code to obtain a prime government contract. So you're going to select that. Pretty much everyone watching this video, you are not a government entity. So select no. If by chance you are, meaning you're representing a state or government, then select yes. If that does not apply, select no. My entity is physically located in the United States. You must select that. If that applies, if you are outside of the United States, then select that option. Either way, you can register. What's key is you must have a physical location. No, do not have a cage code. If you have a cage code, it would have showed up. Instead, you only saw the UEI. At this stage, they're asking if this information is correct, and it is. What is your relationship? I'm an employee. I am the owner. If you're not, then select you're not an employee or officer of this entity. More than likely, you should select the first one. Also, they want you to select that you're certified to authorize these transactions. And the reason for it is because people have done very nefarious things with Sam.gov. A lot of people have created dummy accounts to be able to obtain access. And here's why. Because this portal holds your banking information. So anytime you receive any type of government contract as a prime, you are paid via the banking information entered here. So if someone is able to get in here, guess what? They can change the banking information and poof, your money is diverted to them. Now, you may have noticed the screen change. It went from 2023 to 2003. So now they're going to start asking for key information. And this is why it's really important to have at least one NAICS identified, have your key documents ready, especially NAICS and banking information. Okay, so they're asking for your start date of your business. So you can see I pulled up my nifty PDF here and I'm able to pull that out. The effective date, I'm going to list as 3/1/22. Why? Because this is what I have evidence of. The end of the fiscal year is 12/31, unless you operate on something different. I don't have a URL. It's not something that you have to have at this point in time. So It's okay to leave it blank. You can have a different mailing address if you desire. I use the same one. Okay, so you see they rejected it because I didn't put a double-digit date. Now they're asking for your tax ID information. And this is found on your form issued by the IRS, or if you use like a LegalZoom or somebody else, it's all located there. Now they're asking, list a taxpayer name. It must exactly match the name the IRS has on file for your entity's TIN. For those of you who may be like, what? It's exactly as the name appears on your form issued by the IRS. So you'll notice here, it's Kizzy Foundation, Inc. That is what I must type in here. It's nice you can copy the mailing address. Again, you must have a physical address, but you can have a completely different address for mailing. You can have a PO box. You can have a virtual address, but you must have a physical address. In case those of you are wondering, like, are you bowling in between takes? I wear a wrist guard. This is what happens when you work 60 hours a week in a call center. I have a little bit of carpal tunnel. No nerve damage, y'all, no nerve damage, but I always use a wrist guard when I'm typing. I'm double checking to see if I put my middle initial in here. I typically like to do that because, believe it or not, there are other Kizzy Parks out there, and so I like using my middle initial, but I like to double check because sometimes I forget and I don't use it. But what's important is to check. Most recent tax year, it was 22. They're notifying me that a one-time password will be sent to the email that I listed here. So I'm gonna check on my phone. Okay, terrific. So I received an email, and the email comes from do not reply at Sam.Gov. Okay, so it did not take my name, and it could be that I put the period after the M. Sometimes these systems are sensitive. It's completely okay. So they're gonna send me another passcode. I received it. It went directly to my primary folder. I'm a Gmail person. That's who provides pretty much all of our back-end email. Didn't go to spam, didn't go to junk, but for those of you who are using a different email, check all of those folders because it appeared very fast. Is another entity owner control? No. Are you the successor to predecessor? No. And you'll notice they also have pop-up boxes. So if you're the type, you love information, you want to know the definition, well, guess what? All of that is here for you. They also provide a very lengthy PDF that breaks down all of these steps. I'm the type of person who needs video, I need audio, but if you're the type who really likes to really dig in and read, or you want to print it, that's also an option for you. So for those of you who wonder, oh, can I get a government contract if I'm not in the United States? Look at all these countries here. Yes, yes is the answer. Now I have to find the United States. Great. And this is also important to know, where is your business incorporated? I tend to incorporate all of my businesses in Florida. I'm gonna put not applicable, not applicable. If this applies to you, by all means. Typically, this won't apply because clearance is at the corporation level, but that's for another video. So my business is a foundation, so I will select foundation. For many of you watching, none of these apply. If you're certified by the Department of Transportation Disadvantaged Business Enterprise in a particular state, then you would select yes. If the answer is no, then just select no. Here's another bonus strategy. All of this information can be revised after the fact. What's key is you want to go through this so you can obtain your cage code. Make adjustments later. It's not about being perfect, it's taking action. That's what's key. It asks if you're native. I am not. So you would select your organization factors. Since I'm registering a nonprofit, I'm selecting corporate entity tax exempt. Majority of you watching would fall under corporate entity not tax exempt. Unless you have a letter similar to the one here that states that you are a 501c3 or some other type of designation indicating that you are tax exempt. This is vital because they're going to check all of this information. No different than if you are an S Corp or an LLC, you want to make sure all of that information is listed. For this question, more than likely you are a for-profit organization. This is what's known as self-certifying. So I am woman-owned. And I am minority-owned. So just select whatever applies, whether you're a veteran, you're a woman, so on and so forth. A joint venture refers to a different type of business structure. If you're watching this and you are a joint venture and you are submitting a joint venture for a cage code, then select the options that align with your type of business. Okay, terrific. Okay. So here they are asking for your banking information. If for some reason you do not have a business bank account, that is okay. Just enter your personal checking account. Because remember, you can go back after you obtain your cage code. One other bonus strategy, definitely select yes that you take credit cards as a method of payment. Why? Because you can easily figure out how to accept it. Whether you get a merchant account, you run it through Stripe, you run it through Square, select yes, because that's an easy button for the federal government. And this is often how they pay for micro purchases. Typing in the account number, routing. It's okay if you don't have a fax number. Type in your email and make sure the address matches what you have with your bank. That's very important. Now they're asking about executive compensation. 80% or more of your annual gross revenues in the US and or corporate agreements, and 25 million or more in annual gross revenue from US contracts. They're asking you in your business or your organization's preceding completed fiscal year, did you meet either of these? More than likely, the response is no. It could be yes for some of you. I know there are many out there, and I thank you so much, who support my channel, who you're doing well over 25 million a year. So just make sure you answer every question based on your situation. What's key is I just want you to understand what they're asking and have a little bit of context as far as why. They're basically asking this to kind of gauge if you're a small business or not. Is your business organization is represented by the UEI, responding to a federal procurement that contains this FAR? You know, for this, I'm just gonna say no, because we're not at this point in time. But let's see what happens if you select yes. If you select yes, then they ask you, do you have any contracts greater than 10 million? No. And then you'll also notice there's a question here asking about criminal proceedings, civil proceedings, but right now it doesn't populate. So let's move that back to no. So this page provides a summary of all the information that was just entered. Save and continue. Now it's going to ask you for NAICS. You simply type in a NAICS here and you add it. If you need to look for any NAICS, this is a great website to go to. There are others that are out there. Just Google NAICS and a couple will come up. Keep in mind, you may add to this. Often with different opportunities, you're going to see they use a slew of NAICS codes. So when you're first signing up, there's no way you're going to know every single NAICS you should add. For instance, we won an opportunity once for those Oculus headsets. For whatever reason, the NAICS that they used was computer assembly, something of that sort. I didn't assemble these NAICS. I purchased them from Amazon and flipped them to the Air Force. So there's no way I would have had that NAICS in there. You just simply log back in and add the NAICS. But you do all of this once you're assigned the cage code. So just as long as you can enter one, you're perfectly fine. I entered 541611 because it's a very common NAICS. I really want to help you with this section, especially for those you're just starting out and you're like, I don't have anything to report. Simply type in $1. Pulling in for my Price is Right days, $1. Number of employees, I don't have any employees. Same thing, 1 and 0, 1 and 0. If this section pertains to you, then by all means, change this to yes and fill in the information. This does not apply, so that's why I selected no. For those of you who are interested in disaster response opportunities, select yes. I am not. Once again, they're providing a recap of all the information that's been entered. The reason that they're asking all this information is they're going to put it all in your SAM profile, and much of it will be on display in what's known as the Dynamic Small Business Search Portal. I noticed it's a little bit kind of under construction, so they're asking this for a reason. I promise you. Promise y'all. If you want, you can add another person here. I have no reason to do that. As far as Environmental Protection Agency and this question around recovered material, I'm just selecting will provide with specific offers to the government. Because I don't plan on getting into that type of work, but hey, I never expected to be in the type of work that I'm in with vape and supporting food inspectors, so hey, it's great to keep the door open. Do you have other plants or facilities at different addresses routinely used? No. Okay, so I did have to add a person. Oh my goodness. I misspoke, y'all. Okay, terrific. Are you controlled by common parent? No. Now they're asking if anyone connected is debarred or suspended. No. Have I been convicted? No. Have I been notified of delinquent taxes? No. And so on and so forth. Been terminated for cause? No. Okay. If you have a joint venture, they're asking for that. I don't have that. Provide any data that qualifies as limited rights? No. Oh. None. There we go. And I'm intentionally leaving in all of the missteps that I make because we're all human. This is my very first time registering a foundation. You may have noticed at the very beginning under my workspace, I have multiple companies registered. So I kind of know what I'm doing on a good day, y'all. I kind of know what I'm doing, but let's keep it moving. Okay, let's see. Does Kizzy Foundation deliver any end products that are listed by child labor? No. Previous contracts set schedule subject to this FAR, no. Foreign end products. I strongly encourage you to select vendor will provide. And the reason for it is if you ever bid on any work under the government publishing office, often the products that you're going to bring in come from Alibaba, which in turn come from China. And everyone involved is very well aware of that. So they'll ask for images, the origin, and other information. So it's best just to do that because the goal is to get your cage. You can always go back and make any changes. The answer here is no, any kind of EEO reports. And for many of you watching, the same applies. Do I provide maintenance, calibration? No. I'm just gonna put provide with specific offers. Great, save and continue. Okay, I skipped one. Okay, Kizzy has developed and has on file, has not developed and does not have on file. Kizzy is not a previous contract subject. And that's the case, so. And then you see we have several more sections to go. That's why you need to make sure as you're doing this, you have something here. You may even need a little snack. Vendor will provide. No. Subsidiary, no. And if you want the definitions, just click the link. If you want to read more about it. Unpaid tax, no. Felony, no. No. Okay. Provide telecommunications, no. No. Okay. Okay. So in other words, since I didn't select NAICS codes that fall under a certain part of this entire process, they're just letting me know, like, we're gonna move you forward. Perfect. Do I wish to bid on or currently hold DoD issue or funded? I'm gonna select yes, because I wanna bid on. I would say everyone, you wanna select yes, unless you're like, I don't want to bid on anything with the Department of Defense. You don't want any Army, Navy, Air Force contracts, then select no. Transported by sea, no. Represent the prices set forth are based on the wages or material price established and controlled by a foreign entity, no. Are we owned by a foreign entity? No. Is KPC a foreign or Kizzy Foundation? KPC is my flagship company. No, no, no. For those of you where you are a foreign entity or you have a controlling company which is a foreign entity, then make sure you go through every single one of these questions. Are we serving severely disabled individuals? We are not at this time. Oh. Our Kizzy Foundation financial statements in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles? Yes. I was so used to selecting no, y'all, I almost selected no again. Yes. Now, for those of you where you're like, but I don't have any financials, I don't even have a QuickBooks account or a Xero account or any kind of account. That's okay, just select yes because you're going to follow them. They're not asking you, do you have an account? Have you submitted your taxes? They're not asking you that. And again, feel free to go through here and read each of these if you so desire. Do I wish to apply for financial assistance? No. You may select yes, if that applies. In this section, they're asking for any alternative points of contact. What's vital is group email addresses may be used as long as they are affiliated with the entity. Meaning, if you have info at, hello at, finance at, group at, email me at, I don't know, I'm trying to be funny, y'all, I'm trying. They're letting you know that may be used. keep in mind, anyone you list here is going to be able to obtain access to all of this. So be careful, just be careful. I'm gonna see if I can go past this because, I can't. So I entered the information and now I'm just copying it all over. You have to enter it once. I enter the information under accounts receivable and electronic business. Now I'm going to the last area and just simply copying it over. You're welcome to add additional points of contact if you so desire. You can verify all of your information here. And then in order to submit, they're asking me for another passcode. So I'm going here on my phone, bam, I already have the email. Three, 2, 5, 4, 5. Perfect. This is exactly what you want. This page right here. It's letting you know that you've submitted everything that they have asked for. Then they went ahead and outlined all of the next steps. The main next step is that they're going to verify that you have a physical address. I know that there are some of you out there that have a virtual address or you have these other kind of unique addresses. If it is not a place that somebody can physically go and meet with you in an office environment, whether it's a house, it's an apartment, it's a condo, it's a virtual working space where you have an office, you're gonna get an email and they're going to ask for more information or they're just gonna flat out reject it. That's why it is so vital that you have all of this set up ahead of time. As you can see, the entity was officially submitted. My active government contracting companies are here and it went from ID assigned to submitted registration. Awesome. Wait, there's more. After finishing the step I just covered, you will receive the following email. Hopefully you should. You're looking for an email that says IRS TIN match validation successful, meaning that the information you entered matched what was in the IRS's system, which is amazing. And if you so desire, they let you know that you can take a look to see kind of where you are in the process, because we're not done yet. We still have not received your cage code. There is one final step that must occur, and that is why you must have a physical address. Because if you don't have a physical address, then you're not gonna get past this final step. This is the most important step in this entire process. You will receive an email potentially asking for you to verify. Or if they don't need to verify, you will receive an email stating that a cage has been issued for you. The address that I use is also shared with several other companies. It is a 3-story office building. So as you can imagine, they think, hey, is she trying to be tricky? Is this really a virtual office? And it is not. That is why having a lease is vital. So you'll notice here that they've asked for additional information. They first identify all of the other companies that share the address. Then they began, or maybe, then they followed up with different questions that they have. You can see there's numerous questions here. but I'm here to help support you. This is much easier than when it seems. Number one, if you get an email like this, you have 3 business days to respond because they need to validate and verify that the physical address you gave them actually matches with a physical location and you have proof of that. So what you're going to want to do is scroll down and you're going to want to copy every single one of the questions that they have listed, paste them in your reply, and present your actual answer underneath each one. Additionally, you're going to want to provide a copy of your lease because they need evidence that you are actually located at the physical address that you have provided them. Let's go ahead and respond to the email. I used the same from as they listed in the thank you. They asked, there are other companies located at this address. Are any associated with your company? The answer is no. Let's copy this. Dear Cage. Our responses are below. Please email or call with any questions. There are other companies located at this address. Are any associated with your company? The answer is actually yes. Okay. Yes, I own several companies that share the 335 office. I just put does not apply. Let's go to the next one. There's no need to respond to A as in alpha or B as in Bravo since we didn't respond yes to the first part. Let's go ahead and copy these. Is the SAM address complete, correct and complete? Double check the address that they have. It is. And I'll go back to change the font here. And then they ask, is this a virtual office, business, residential home? If none of these, please explain. The building has both virtual and physical offices. We rent 2 physical offices in the 1900 building. A copy of the lease is attached. So then again, it's very clear. All of my responses are bulleted. I'll go ahead and attach that copy so I don't forget. It's always a good idea to attach a PDF because if you attach a Word document, things can move around and it's much easier to use a PDF. If the majority of your business operations are conducted within a virtual office, etc., please supply one of the following. This goes to the question I get probably more than anything. Am I able to use a virtual office? May I use a virtual address? The answer is no, unless there's some type of physical space associated with it. So the office building in question once was a hotel. And then it transitioned to so many things. A bank, there was a pizza shop in it. So since this question deals with the virtual office, and I've already made it clear that we have 2 physical offices, I'm just going to respond with does not apply. It's much easier in this situation to give them more information than not enough, because in order to prime federal government contracts, you must have a CAGE code. I still don't have a CAGE. I have a UEI, but a CAGE code will only be issued after I respond to this and they're able to verify everything that I've stated. So I just want to review one more time. My responses are below. Please email or call with any questions. I like Grammarly, why not? Okay. One thing that I never do is correct their grammar. I just leave it the way it was and the way it is. Yes, I own several companies that share the office, does not apply. Yes, the office building has both virtual and physical offices. We rent 2 physical offices in the building. A copy of the lease is attached, does not apply. And then the lease is attached. I'm going to go ahead and click send, which is great. And then you can also see in the sent message, the items I cut and pasted have kind of a purple hue to them. Now, we sit back and wait for the next email from Cage or Sam.Gov.
We did it. The federal government issued a cage code to the Kizzy Foundation. And this is, before you get a cage code, you will receive a UEI. Then they typically will ask you for information to verify your physical address. Then once you do that, after forwarding the lease information and answering their questions, you will be issued a cage code within days. So in terms of the Kizzy Foundation, and please note, it doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit, a for-profit, the process is still the exact same, except there are some questions that you answer when you're registering a nonprofit, when you're registering a joint venture, when you're registering a for-profit. The entire process is exactly the same. So I received an email at do-not-reply@sam.gov. Do not reply at sam.gov. This is important. When dealing with the federal government, you're looking for .gov, .mil emails. And it says this registration is now active. So it lists both the UEI and the cage code for the Kizzy Foundation. What you can also do if you choose, you can log into your workspace in sam.gov to verify that your company is listed there. They also provide the steps that you're going to need to do. That every year, yep, you already know it's coming, you have to go through this process again. You have to renew. It's best if you renew at least 3 months in advance. And they actually indicate the renewal date is 6/24/2024. And because the organization who is behind the cage code is a military organization, they will typically put year, month, date. Just some little nuances. They also provide more information here as far as if you have questions and to go and see your PTAC if you're interested. You may be wondering, well, what is the next step? The next step, after getting your cage code, of course, celebrate. Feel free to post that you got your cage code in my Facebook group so we can celebrate with you. After that, you want to create a capability statement. A capability statement is similar to a resume. It outlines all of this information about your business. It has your cage code, your UEI, your set-asides. And for those of you wondering, set-asides, I just got a cage code. Well, guess what? For the most part, I know there are a few large companies who watch my content, but you're a small business. Be proud, celebrate that, list that on your capability because it allows you to narrow all of the competition so that you're competing only against small businesses and not large companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, or Harris Corporation. Once you finish your capability statement, you also want to take this time to go into sam.gov and begin reviewing, understanding, so you can bid and win profitable government contracts. There's a 3-prong approach to this. Getting a cage code is only part of it. It's bidding, it's dialing for dollars, and it's different relationships, period. When you do all 3, the sky's the limit. When you do one of them, of course, you can earn millions in government contracts. I've had students who I coach who have done that, and there are tons of people out there. All they do is just bid on sam.gov, they bid on Unison, and they created a multi-million-dollar company doing so. Because typically the federal government offers 5-year contracts, and if a contract is $200,000 every year, multiplied by 5, hey, and let's say you win several of those, the sky's the limit. So don't give up. If for some reason you have any questions throughout this process, please contact sam.gov. This is the actual sam.gov. This is not a company who you pay to get registered. This is a representative of the federal government. And you phone them at 866-606-8220. Call them. They're amazing. They're super helpful. They want you to get your cage code. And until you get your cage code, you are unable to prime contracts unless maybe the contracting officer is super friendly and they're super flexible and they allow you to still receive the award without having your cage code, but the likelihood of that, it's pretty small. So just go through these steps, and before you know it, you too will have a cage code. Thank you all, you're amazing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and until next time, everything is possible.